Hello, I'm Mark.
And I'm Casey.
And I'm Patrick.
And today we're going to talk about FSD. We're going to talk about driving tests, and we're going to talk about how do we test this kind of stuff. But first, we're going to get Casey to roll the screen. What screen do we call it?
The intro.
The intro screen. There we go.
The Luddites. The Luddites are coming. Maybe this is happening automatically when I push play. It's automatically driving us into.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We've got an interesting article that we put down in the notes if you'd like to go through that. But this article is concerning a New Jersey driver test office that a young person was taking their test in a Tesla. The Tesla wasn't even in any autonomous type mode, no FSD. It wasn't running autopilot. But what did happen was that the car, of course, was using the regen brake feature, and the tester was looking at this and seeing that the person that was being tested was not engaging the brake pedal all the time because the car, of course, was regenning and slowing down enough that the brake pedal did not have to be depressed, and they ended up failing the person because of this inaction going to the brake pedal. Now, this is not the first failure that's happened to someone that's been being tested to get a driver's license in a Tesla. We've heard about this other different districts and jurisdictions. Some people have had this issue previously. Different DMV locations seem to have different rules. Of course, every state has their own DMV, and they can have different rules. But I wanted to talk today about where do we see this going as FSD starts to pick up, become more popular, starts to actually people are using it autonomously. Where do things end up? How do we even test people for driver's license anymore? It's something that really it stretches the imagination as to where this actually ends up. What do you guys think?
Well, I wrote a whole article about it, but this is going to take training and a little more care than accusations and wild finger pointing that we're seeing occasionally from these hopefully volunteer testers, but I don't think they are volunteers. They're failing at their jobs. I do think, though, that, like you said, as it becomes more prevalent, we may see a case where it's an endorsement, just like with your motorcycle or with certain areas, you have to get a manual standard transmission endorsement to actually be able to even drive one.
Really? I didn't know.
In Europe,
states.
And also if you're a truck driver, you have to be certified as a standard transmission to actually not drive an automatic. But how did I put it before? They wanted her to turn off regen braking because, again, that car, just like this one, wasn't subscribed to FSD because that's a lot of money to pay for a kid's car, especially one that's supposed to be learning how to drive. And so regen braking, turning it off is ridiculous, and it's not even an option on either person's car, the young lady or this young man. Accusing drivers of using features the car doesn't have that just looks wrong on everybody's part. I suggested bringing in some experts, like not necessarily on every ride, but just having a transcript, a recording of every drive. And if the tester wanted to accuse the person of cheating, then at that point you could run it past the Tesla expert, past the Rivian expert, and they could listen for and look for the cues that tell them that yes, the person did cheat, and then that would be your arbitration right there. And if you chose not to be recorded on your drive and they accused you of cheating, well, that sucks. uh,
So your thought is to push the DMV forward by having some sort of an internal expert be able to review a tape of a incident that they said was a possible infraction.
Yeah, it'd be too expensive to put the experts in every car.
Definitely.
And then I also pointed out that that it's super low tech to prove whether or not the person is one pedal driving or using some sort of autonomous features, because you can do the panic brake stop. You make them stop for something that's not really there. Oh shoot, there's a kid, there's a ball or whatever. Yell stop now, and so then because it doesn't exist, you won't get the beep beep beep, or the car won't help them stop. And if they don't push the brake to do it, they won't stop in time, and they will fail the panic braking test. That's super low.
Right, and they'd have to do it somewhere where there's no car right.
Yeah,
immediately behind
it
them.
would have to be safe to do it. Yeah.
The same lot to do the
yes
parallel parking.
Right. If they do it in their parking lot where they have a space dedicated for that, that's a great idea. I don't know that you need another expert. I think that there's only so many automated driving systems out there, and if these people are professional DMV testers, they can understand the functionality of the handful that are out there. And so in this article that you're talking about here specifically, Mark, they said that the kid being tested was using stop assist. So they thought that because Teslas are high tech and have all this automated stuff, that there was some stopping agent that was making choices for them. No, it was just regen braking. And okay, so I taught a teenager to drive, and when they're stopping, I say, move your foot over and have it over the brake. And but why? All I have to do is let off the accelerator and it's slowing down. Right, but you don't know if you're going to have to emergency stop. And I want you to have this habit so that when you're being tested, you have your foot on the brake when you're slowing down. And you don't have to, I'm not saying stomp on the brake. I'm just saying have your foot over there and be ready if you need to stop sooner than you anticipated. Because if you have to move your foot, that's, a couple milliseconds or whatever. Yep. And that could be the stopping 5 or 10 feet of stopping distance can make the difference between hitting something or not. So
and the
when
three
you're stopping, move your foot.
I've driven electrified long enough to know that there are times where even today's cars will decide, this is not, something's gone wrong. I'm turning off all regen. I'm going to release. And that's usually also at a time where you're still trying to stop. Like say you hit a pothole coming up to red, and it feels like the car is surged forward. But really what's happening is it's removed a couple dozen kilowatts of regen braking.
Exactly. Yeah. And I on the Leaf and both the Chevy electric that I had, when the battery was full, it wouldn't do regen, and the driving it just felt very different. So you still have to get used to braking. So I could see them dinging some points for not moving your foot, but obviously the tester did not understand if they thought there was some smart agent making these decisions. They also accused them of using parking assist, which the dad in this article says we don't have that feature. That's part of FSD. We didn't pay for FSD. We don't have it. My son just parked really well the first time. So now the tester's assuming because this is some fancy Tesla that he had some assistance. And again, that's just, I don't know. The tester not understanding the times, not liking this technology, thinking that it's somehow trying to get over on him and atrophy of people's skills. Casey, you mentioned manual driving, and I'll bet you less than 5% of people under 25 know how to drive a stick shift. And that doesn't mean that they don't have licenses. And so if there's some time in the future where people don't know how to drive a gas car that doesn't have regen or whatever, that's going to be fine. Society will still move forward. People will still know how to drive and get from A to B with the car that they have. So, and that's the whole point, right? Is for them to be safe on the road, not for them to be able to drive anything possible. Right. You don't have to be able to drive an 18-wheeler to have a license. If that's what you drive, you need a license for that. And I told you that makes sense. But not every person needs to be able to drive any type of car.
Right. And that's why you have the motorcycle endorsement, and so many states have a weight limit. It's we are in a litigious society, but I do think there should be consequences for stuff like this, where you're impugning the person's reputation here, and then the whole 2 weeks before you can retest, and the boss backing him up, even though they were both wrong.
Yeah, I was really hoping that when they called the manager out, the manager would be smarter. It's like that story about somebody trying to use a $2 bill at Taco Bell, and the kid behind the counter saying, "What is this, counterfeit? They don't make twos." And then the boss coming out and going, "Oh, you stupid kid! Yes, they do, and that's a valid bill." I was really hoping that's the way this story was going to go. That if the boss just went and looked at the software to see if FSD was in there or not, and said, "No, it's not. So you're fine." And that would have been the end.
I can understand them not being able to go into the Tesla and understand whether or not they have FSD or not. Like I get that, because that's going through menus. That's understanding the interface somewhat.
Right. And something that they could train for. I mean, firefighters learn how to, for each specific type of car, where the high voltage lines are that they have to cut before they do anything else. It's just a matter of training. And if you're a vehicle professional, get trained.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds easy when there's one brand of car. But can you imagine if 4 others came out with it?
Right.
There's going to be an area where you probably won't, but you could have every different manufacturer have a different system that requires different training, different buttons to be pressed to understand. Right. I'm saying that I'm thinking these manufacturers that develop these systems, Tesla included, are going to have some sort of a quick button or a quick screen that's able to tell somebody immediately that whether the car has driver assist package, or if it's on, or if it's disabled. That type of thing, I think the manufacturer is going to have to get a little bit more savvy to be able to display that at a quick notice, so that someone that's testing could understand that immediately.
Right. But if you are registering for a test and you put in who's going to be testing at what time and their age and whatever factors, and you also say what vehicle, model, and then they can have a database to print out a 1-page reference. This is the checklist of stuff when you get in this car to make sure that that driving automation is not enabled, so that you're testing the driver and not testing the automated features of the vehicle.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I propose this addition to my original proposal. Then, in addition to the ability for them to just have a $5 webcam recording, you can then have the manufacturers participate and have a test mode where it's got a big screen. Hey, that stuff is turned on, and then we'll show it clearly in the screen, because if it's just because it's up doesn't mean that the person's not going to lie on you and say that, "Oh yeah, I saw it flash green." Well, it only flashes red and orange, buddy. And then that way again, this will mitigate on both ends. The kid saying, "Hey, I didn't use it," and the person saying, "I saw you use it for sure. I heard it go toot toot," and then again with the fake brake test. If you're responding to something that's not there, then the assistants cannot help. Versus, if you throw out like a mannequin across the street, Green Mountain style, then what was the name? Odad. Yeah. So if you,
Project Dawn.
Yeah. So if you do that, then are you testing the kid or are you testing the car? But if there's nothing there and you're telling them to stop quick now, seeing how they respond, did they move their foot to the brake? I think this is a low tech, low cost way to deal with all this, except for the whole camera recording and archiving situation could get out of hand depending on the bidding structure. But the rest of it is next to free to implement. And then again, the testing screen, I'm going to add that as a comment on this article now.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So like right now, Teslas have, car wash mode. And if instead they had, DMV license test mode. And it showed you on the screen very clearly, vehicle automation features are disabled for driver's test. And that would be an interesting, and that way the person who's testing sees that and they know it's from the manufacturer. So that would be a nice way to handle that.
Yeah.
And then you just don't have, I mean, don't turn off their regen braking or anything about the way the car operates, but
Right.
don't allow FSD to turn on, don't allow autopilot to turn on. Maybe set collision avoidance to just beep only, but again, in my present premise on that is turning off a safety feature,
Right.
and why I proposed faking it when it came time to see if they do the right thing in an emergency versus risking the life of the student and the tester by having the equipment turned off. This is not the way to handle it the way they've been doing it. It's only going to get worse. As Mark said, there are going to be a million different ways, and then they're going to change it from year to year because they have to give you a reason to go to the dealership and buy a car every other year. There's no getting around that part. And then none of the cars, except for the Tesla, the Rivian, and a handful of others, are going to be able to retroactively update to show the DMV screen. But that's a good start. And we're going to have to do something aside from saying, oh, yeah, if you have this, you can't. The only other way is for them to maintain a car, and like this is the DMV car, and then for the testing training companies to have the same car, but that, again, get a bidding war, you get the special car that doesn't reflect what they're actually going to drive in the real life, and it's.
Well, that's a good point to basically stop it at is turn to our viewers and ask them, what do you think should be added in order to serve both the DMV and the person that's trying to get their driver's license? What do you think? Does what we've suggested here today make sense to you, or are the things that we're missing that you'd like to add it to? Put it in the comments and let us know. This can go, we could talk about this for probably a couple days. And of course, we won't do that to you today, but in future episodes, we may touch upon other parts of this subject, like once FSD becomes autonomous, how does someone following them know who gets the ticket if the car is being automated in use, or if it's being under manual control, or if it's switched just recently? So all those things come into play, but we're not going to get into that today because we're out of time. Casey, I'm looking at you. I am looking at you.
Can I mention the purple lights?
We need something
purple lights.
time.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. So with that, we will call it to an end. Patrick, any shout outs?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels.
Casey, shout-outs.
Catch us on Sunday at Let's Chat with Casey and Friends over at x.com and youtube.com. And then again on a Monday for the Tesla Life Express Edition 2.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you next time and find out what's happening in the Tesla life.
Look up the purple lights.
Purple lights.